So a question came in while we were away at ONEG, and it's a legitimate question, and it's just basically asking. It says, I have a sincere question about participating in something like the March of Life or praying for women outside of an abortion clinic. Basically asking, what if there is something that we do feel that's very important to stand with in a quote unquote protest kind of scenario. My thoughts were and are that there are some things that are worth fighting for. There are those things that we take a stand for. I guess what I'm trying to address is the feeling that some may have that we just need to get louder than the other group, and we need to get a little more demonstrative than the other group. I'm not saying that it's wrong to or feel that it's wrong to be outside of an abortion clinic and pray for those young women going in there, or to even engage them in a conversation. I'm not speaking against that. I'm not speaking against if you want to march in a rally for life. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not of the opinion that those kinds of things in and of themselves is going to affect any real change on a national level. It can send a message to politicians, perhaps, but is it, I don't know that it's going to change the hearts and minds of thousands and tens of thousands, of people. Maybe I'm wrong. That being said, I don't think there's anything wrong with participating in that. I don't believe that we should take up the same tactics as the world, thinking that we're going to get some kind of great result. I think, as I said earlier, it's a one-on-one thing. It's me and you, it's me and that person, it's you and that person engaging, and one step at a time, one person at a time. That's how we do things. And so I'm hopeful that you're trying to that you understand my heart in that. So I know that there are some people who are very, very heavily involved with some things, and I would never be so presumptuous as to say that you shouldn't do that. Every person's going to have to follow their own conscience in this, just like everything else. If the Father has put upon your heart to do this or to say that, that's what you should do. Who am I to say otherwise? I'm just trying to follow as closely as I know how the things that I see Yeshua doing. He didn't allow himself to become distracted or offended because people were, responding to him in a certain way. He just continued to do what the Father had given him to do. He said what the Father told him to say. He did what the Father told him to do. And that's the best we can do. So anyway, I'm not speaking against people who march in the rallies for life. I'm not speaking against people who are actively engaged in countering the abortion clinics and Planned Parenthood and things like that. I wouldn't recommend that you become violent and aggressive and vulgar and profane and all those kinds of things as you contest these things. Because if we're going to represent ourselves as followers of the Messiah, then we need to behave ourselves in a way that brings honor to him and not dishonor. So I don't know how else to put it. So hopefully everybody understands what I'm trying to say here. So with that, do we have anyone who would like to chime in on this and voice an opinion? Or we're going to start with Clifford in the back.
I just would like to address one small issue, and I'm sure we'll have discussion later, but on this particular issue of gathering. It was in the 90s. There was a group called the Promise Keepers, and we went to Washington, D.C., and I rode my motorcycle up there with a group across the country, and we prayed all the way there. And it was a very special time in my life to be a part of a group of men who filled the mall, and we got on our face and prayed for our country and our leadership. We didn't tear anything up, and we didn't leave anything destroyed.
Right.
Okay. Later, there was a Million Man March that didn't do that, but I think you're very right, and I agree with you. There's a way to do those things humbly, quietly, and peacefully with the right spirit.
And that's all I'm saying. You know, just because somebody else gets loud and boisterous and, you know, wants to throw their weight around doesn't mean that we need to counter that or match that or even go beyond that. You know, I remember that rally that you're referring to, and to God that the mall would be filled with praying men and women every day, you know, not just once in a great while, you know. I'm hopeful that everybody understands what I'm really trying to get across here. We just don't want to act like the world to try to advance the kingdom, you know. That's what I'm saying. So if you feel like the Father is leading you to be involved with something and it meets peaceably and respectfully and it isn't trying to, you know, throw fuel on a fire, okay. You know, again, everyone's got to follow their conscience in that. But I go back to what Isaiah said. You won't hear his voice in the street. He's not going to break a bruised reed, and he's not going to snuff out a smoldering flax. You know, he's going to do what is right, and he is going to bring justice. And again, I stand by this. The most effective way is one person at a time.